Imagine floating above your own body, soaring through the cosmos, and exploring realms beyond our physical world. This isn't some far-fetched science fiction scenario. It's a phenomenon known as astral travel, and some of history's most powerful figures, monarchs and rulers, have claimed to have experienced it. From ancient kings to medieval queens, these leaders have shared astonishing accounts of leaving their bodies and journeying into the unknown. What did they see? What did they learn? And how did these otherworldly experiences shape their reigns? Join us as we dive into the mysterious world of the astral travelers, monarchs who claimed they left their bodies. Historical rulers claiming out-of-body experiences, documented royal accounts. Throughout history, several monarchs have claimed to have experienced out-of-body experiences, often describing vivid journeys beyond their physical forms. These accounts, documented in royal diaries, letters, and historical records, offer intriguing glimpses into the mystical beliefs and personal experiences of these rulers. One notable example is King Charles XI of Sweden, who reportedly had a profound out-of-body experience during a severe illness. He described seeing his own body from an elevated perspective and encountering celestial beings. This experience deeply influenced his reign, leading him to adopt more spiritual and compassionate policies. In a different vein, Empress Dowager Cixi of China, who ruled during the late Qing dynasty, was known to have a strong interest in the supernatural. She reportedly had several out-of-body experiences, which she described in her private memoirs. These experiences often involved her spirit leaving her body and traveling to distant places, including ancient battlefields and sacred mountains. Her accounts were so vivid that they influenced her decisions, particularly in matters of state and religion. Cixi's experiences were not just personal, they were also used to bolster her political authority, as she claimed divine guidance from her spiritual journeys. Another fascinating account comes from King Farouk I of Egypt, who was known for his interest in the occult and paranormal phenomena. He claimed to have had multiple out-of-body experiences, often during times of great stress or decision-making. Farouk described these experiences as both enlightening and terrifying, as they allowed him to see the consequences of his actions from a higher perspective. His accounts were documented in his personal journals, which were later discovered and studied by historians. These experiences reportedly shaped his approach to governance, making him more cautious and reflective in his decisions. These royal accounts of out-of-body experiences offer a unique window into the personal beliefs and spiritual practices of historical rulers. They highlight the intersection of the mystical and the political, showing how personal spiritual experiences could influence the course of history. While these experiences may seem extraordinary, they were often taken seriously by the rulers themselves and their contemporaries, shaping their policies and decisions in profound ways. The documentation of these experiences provides valuable insights into the cultural and religious contexts of their times, as well as the personal struggles and aspirations of these monarchs. Cultural reasons. Why monarchs saw astral travel as a sign of divine legitimacy. Throughout history, many monarchs claimed to have experienced astral travel, and these experiences were often tied to their divine legitimacy. In many ancient cultures, the ability to leave one's body and journey into the spiritual realm was seen as a sign of a special connection to the divine. This connection was crucial for monarchs, as it reinforced their right to rule and their status as intermediaries between the divine and the earthly realms. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs were believed to be the living embodiments of the god Horus. Their ability to communicate with the gods and journey into the afterlife was seen as proof of their divine lineage. This belief was so strong that pharaohs were often depicted in art and hieroglyphs as having wings, symbolizing their ability to transcend the physical world and travel to the spiritual realm. The pharaoh's connection to the divine was not just a personal belief but a cultural one, shared by the entire society. This collective belief reinforced the pharaoh's authority and legitimacy as a ruler. Similarly, in ancient Mesopotamia, kings were seen as having a special relationship with the gods. They were believed to be chosen by the gods to rule over the people. The ability to journey into the spiritual realm was seen as a sign of this divine favor. Kings would often undertake rituals and ceremonies designed to facilitate this journey, further reinforcing their connection to the divine. These rituals were not just personal experiences but public displays of the king's divine legitimacy. The entire society would participate in these rituals, reinforcing the king's authority and the cultural belief in his divine right to rule. In many African cultures, the ability to journey into the spiritual realm was seen as a sign of a special connection to the ancestors. Monarchs were often believed to be the living embodiments of the ancestors, and their ability to communicate with the spirit world was seen as proof of this connection. This belief was reinforced through rituals and ceremonies designed to facilitate this communication. The entire society would participate in these rituals, reinforcing the monarch's authority and the cultural belief in their divine right to rule. The monarch's connection to the ancestors was not just a personal belief but a cultural one, shared by the entire society. This collective belief reinforced the monarch's authority and legitimacy as a ruler. Vision descriptions, recurring motifs across empires and centuries. Across different cultures and time periods, monarchs who claimed to have experienced astral travel often described visions that shared striking similarities. These recurring motifs suggest a universal nature to these experiences, transcending cultural and temporal boundaries. One of the most common motifs is the sensation of floating or flying. Many monarchs reported feeling as if they were weightless, soaring above their physical bodies. This sensation is often accompanied by a profound sense of freedom and euphoria. For instance, some described gliding effortlessly through the air, while others spoke of being propelled by an unseen force. The feeling of flight is a powerful and recurring theme, hinting at a deep-seated human desire for liberation from physical constraints. Another prevalent motif is the experience of heightened senses. Monarchs often reported that during their astral travels, their senses were heightened. Colors appeared more vibrant, sounds were clearer, and emotions were more intense. This heightened awareness is often described as a state of heightened consciousness. For example, some monarchs spoke of seeing auras or energy fields around people and objects. Others described hearing distant sounds with crystal clarity. This heightened sensory experience is often accompanied by a sense of profound insight and understanding. It's as if the astral plane offers a clearer, more vivid perception of reality. Light is another recurring motif in these visions. Many monarchs described encountering intense, radiant light during their astral travels. This light is often described as pure, divine, and all-encompassing. It's not just a source of illumination but also a source of warmth, comfort, and guidance. Some monarchs spoke of being drawn towards this light, while others described it as a barrier or a threshold. The light is often associated with spiritual enlightenment or divine presence. For instance, some monarchs described the light as a gateway to higher realms or a manifestation of the divine. This motif underscores the spiritual significance of these experiences. Additionally, encounters with other beings are a common theme. Monarchs often reported meeting other entities during their astral travels. These beings are often described as benevolent, wise, and otherworldly. They are sometimes depicted as human-like figures, while other times they are described as beings of light or energy. These encounters are often transformative, providing the monarch with profound insights or guidance. For example, some monarchs spoke of receiving wisdom or prophecies from these beings. Others described feeling a deep sense of connection and unity with them. These encounters highlight the interpersonal and communal aspects of astral travel experiences. Lastly, the experience of time and space is often altered during astral travel. Monarchs frequently reported that time seemed to pass differently on the astral plane. Hours could feel like minutes, and minutes could feel like hours. Similarly, the perception of space is often distorted. Distances could feel shorter or longer than they are in the physical world. This altered perception of time and space is often described as a state of timelessness or spacelessness. For instance, some monarchs spoke of traveling vast distances in an instant. Others described experiencing past or future events as if they were happening in the present. This motif underscores the non-linear and fluid nature of astral travel experiences. Possible psychological explanations: dreams, hallucinations, altered states. Throughout history, there have been accounts of individuals, including monarchs, who claim to have experienced astral travel, an out-of-body experience where the consciousness is said to leave the physical body. While these experiences are often attributed to spiritual or mystical causes, there are several psychological explanations that can shed light on these phenomena. Dreams, hallucinations, and altered states of consciousness are among the most plausible explanations for such experiences. Dreams are a common occurrence and can be incredibly vivid, sometimes blurring the line between reality and fantasy. During the rapid eye movement, REM, stage of sleep, the brain is highly active, and the content of dreams can feel as real as waking life. Some people might dream about floating or flying, which could be interpreted as an out-of-body experience. Upon waking, these dreams might be so vivid that the individual genuinely believes they have left their body. For instance, someone might dream of observing their own body from a distance, only to wake up convinced that they have had an astral travel experience. This phenomenon is known as a false awakening. where the dreamer believes they have woken up but are still in a dream state. Hallucinations, on the other hand, can occur while a person is fully awake. These can be caused by a variety of factors, including stress, fatigue, sensory deprivation, or certain medical conditions. Hallucinations can involve seeing, hearing, or feeling things that are not actually present. In the context of astral travel, a person might hallucinate seeing their own body from an external perspective. This could be particularly convincing if the hallucination is accompanied by a sense of detachment from the physical body. For example, someone under extreme stress might experience a hallucination where they feel as though they are floating above their body, interpreting this as an out-of-body experience. Altered states of consciousness can also play a significant role in these experiences. Meditation, deep relaxation, and certain spiritual practices can induce states where the boundary between the self and the external world becomes blurred. In these states, individuals might feel a sense of detachment from their physical body, leading them to believe they have had an astral travel experience. For instance, deep meditation can sometimes lead to a sense of floating or weightlessness, which might be interpreted as the consciousness leaving the body. Similarly, practices like lucid dreaming, where the dreamer is aware they are dreaming, can also lead to experiences that resemble astral travel. In these cases, the individual might feel as though they are consciously controlling their out-of-body experience, further reinforcing the belief in astral travel. Rituals used to induce soul travel, herbs, fasting, isolation. Throughout history, various cultures have employed rituals to induce astral travel, a phenomenon where individuals claim to consciously separate their soul or spirit from their physical body. These rituals often involve a combination of herbs, fasting, and isolation to achieve an altered state of consciousness. Herbs have been a cornerstone in these practices, with certain plants believed to facilitate the journey. For instance, some cultures use herbs like mugwort or datura, which are thought to enhance vivid dreams and out-of-body experiences. These plants are often ingested as teas, smoked, or applied topically to induce the desired state. The use of herbs is not merely about consumption but also about preparation. Rituals often involve specific methods of harvesting, drying, and storing these plants to ensure their potency. The process itself is seen as a sacred act, imbuing the herbs with spiritual significance. Fasting is another critical component in the rituals aimed at astral travel. By abstaining from food, practitioners believe they can purify their bodies and heighten their spiritual awareness. Fasting is not just about physical deprivation, it's a disciplined practice that requires mental and emotional preparation. Some traditions advocate for complete fasting, while others allow for the consumption of specific foods or liquids. The duration of fasting can vary, ranging from a few hours to several days. The idea is to create a state of heightened sensitivity, where the mind is more receptive to spiritual experiences. This practice is often accompanied by meditation or prayer, further deepening the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. Isolation plays a pivotal role in these rituals, providing a controlled environment for the soul to embark on its journey. Practitioners often retreat to secluded places, such as caves, forests, or specially designated rooms, to minimize distractions. This solitude is not just physical but also mental and emotional. By removing themselves from the hustle and bustle of daily life, individuals can focus more intently on their spiritual goals. Isolation can involve complete silence, or it might include the use of specific sounds, such as chanting or drumming, to induce a trance-like state. The duration of isolation can vary, but the aim is always the same: to create a sacred space where the soul can freely explore the astral plane. Some traditions also incorporate sensory deprivation, using blindfolds or earplugs to heighten other senses and facilitate the journey. Political impact: how these visions influence decisions and wars. Throughout history, several monarchs have claimed to have experienced astral travel, and these experiences often had a profound impact on their political decisions and the course of wars. Astral travel, for these individuals, was not merely a spiritual journey but a source of divine guidance that they believe could influence their rule and military strategies. The most notable examples come from medieval and early modern Europe, where kings and queens often saw themselves as chosen by God or higher powers. One of the most intriguing cases is that of King Charles VI of France, who suffered from severe mental illness but also claimed to have experienced out-of-body journeys. His visions reportedly influenced his decisions, sometimes leading to disastrous military campaigns. For instance, his insistence on leading an army into battle despite his condition was partly driven by his belief that he had received divine guidance during his astral travels. This not only weakened his rule but also had significant consequences for France's political landscape, as it led to internal strife and external vulnerabilities. Similarly, Queen Elizabeth I of England was known to have consulted astrologers and spiritual advisors who claimed to have knowledge of the astral plane. Her decisions, particularly during times of war with Spain, were sometimes shaped by these mystical advisors. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, for example, was attributed by some to divine intervention, a belief that was reinforced by Elizabeth's own spiritual convictions. This victory not only secured England's position as a naval power but also bolstered Elizabeth's reputation as a monarch chosen by Providence. In some cases, these astral experiences were used to justify political maneuvers and wars. For example, King Louis XIV of France, known as the Sun King, often portrayed himself as a figure of divine right, a concept that was reinforced by his belief in his own spiritual superiority. His wars of expansion were not just about territorial gain but also about fulfilling what he believed was his divine mission. This belief in his own special connection to the divine world allowed him to pursue aggressive policies with the conviction that he was acting in accordance with a higher plan. The political impact of these astral visions was not always positive. In some instances, they led to reckless decisions that had long-lasting consequences. For example, the Crusades were partly driven by the belief that certain leaders had received divine visions urging them to reclaim the Holy Land. While these campaigns had religious motivations, they also had significant political and economic implications, reshaping the power dynamics of the medieval world. In conclusion, the astral travel experiences of monarchs had a tangible impact on political decisions and wars. These visions were not just personal spiritual journeys but were often used to justify and influence political strategies. Whether it was through divine guidance or personal conviction, these experiences played a role in shaping the course of history, for better or for worse. Understanding this connection between the spiritual and the political provides a unique perspective on the motivations and decisions of historical leaders. Skeptics' views. Historians who dismiss accounts as propaganda. Skepticism surrounds the accounts of astral travel, especially those attributed to monarchs. Many historians view these stories with a critical eye, often dismissing them as propaganda or political tools. The idea that a ruler could leave their body and gain divine insights is seen as a way to bolster their image and authority. For instance, some historians argue that these tales were crafted to make monarchs appear more connected to the spiritual world, thereby justifying their rule or decisions. Propaganda is a powerful tool, and in the context of royal narratives, it can serve multiple purposes. Historians point out that astral travel accounts could have been used to create a sense of mystique around a monarch. This mystique, in turn, could help solidify their position and make their subjects more likely to obey. For example, if a king claimed to have received divine guidance during an out-of-body experience, his subjects might be more inclined to follow his lead, believing he had a direct line to the gods or the universe. Another angle skeptics take is the lack of verifiable evidence. Historians often highlight that these accounts are based on personal testimonies, which can be subjective and unreliable. Without concrete proof, it's challenging to accept these stories at face value. Additionally, the cultural and historical context plays a significant role. In times when superstition and spirituality were prevalent, such stories could easily gain traction and be used to manipulate public opinion. Some historians also suggest that these accounts were a way to explain away certain behaviors or decisions made by monarchs. For example, if a ruler made a controversial decision, they might attribute it to divine guidance received during an astral journey. This could help deflect criticism and present the decision as unavoidable or divinely ordained. Skeptics argue that this tactic was a common way to manage public perception and maintain control. Modern analysis. Neuroscientific parallels to OOBE experiences today. Out-of-body experiences, OOBEs, have been reported throughout history, including by some monarchs who claim to have left their bodies. Today, neuroscientists are uncovering fascinating parallels between these historical accounts and modern understandings of the brain. One key area of research focuses on the temporal lobe, a region of the brain involved in processing sensory input and generating conscious experiences. When this area is stimulated, either through medical procedures or naturally occurring electrical disturbances, people often report feelings of detachment from their bodies, a phenomenon that mirrors descriptions of OOBEs. Researchers have also found that the brain's default mode network, DMN, a collection of brain regions active when the mind is at rest and wandering, plays a significant role in these experiences. The DMN is involved in self-referential thinking, such as imagining the future or reflecting on the past. When this network is hyperactive, individuals may experience a heightened sense of self-awareness that can lead to feelings of disconnection from the physical body. This aligns with reports from those who have had OOBEs, who often describe a heightened sense of awareness and a feeling of being outside their physical form. Another intriguing parallel lies in the brain's ability to create vivid, dreamlike experiences even when a person is fully conscious. This phenomenon, known as a waking dream, can occur due to the misfiring of neurons in the brain's visual and sensory cortices. These misfirings can generate complex visual and sensory experiences that feel as real as waking life. This explains why some people report seeing and interacting with their surroundings from a different perspective during an OBE. For example, a person might feel as though they are floating above their body, observing the scene from a distance. This sensation is not just a figment of the imagination, but a result of the brain's complex neural processes. Moreover, studies have shown that certain psychological and physiological factors can increase the likelihood of experiencing an OBE. For instance, stress, trauma, and sleep deprivation can alter brain chemistry and activity, making individuals more susceptible to these experiences. This is why OOBEs are often reported during near-death experiences, severe illness, or intense emotional states. Understanding these neuroscientific parallels not only sheds light on the historical accounts of monarchs who claim to have left their bodies, but also provides a framework for understanding the broader phenomenon of OOBEs in modern times. As we wrap up our journey into the extraordinary lives of these monarchs who claim to have left their bodies, let's recap the key points that have left us both fascinated and questioning. We've explored the personal accounts of kings and queens who believed they could transcend the physical world, experiencing realms beyond our everyday reality. From the detailed descriptions of their journeys to the profound impacts these experiences had on their lives, it's clear that astral travel was more than just a passing fancy for these rulers. It shaped their decisions, their beliefs, and even their legacies. Now, you might be wondering, what does this mean for us? Well, these stories aren't just about ancient monarchs. They're about the timeless human curiosity and the quest for understanding what lies beyond. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, these tales invite us to ponder the mysteries of consciousness and the boundaries of human experience. If you've enjoyed diving into these royal mysteries, stay tuned. We've got more intriguing stories and unexplained phenomena lined up for you. From historical enigmas to modern-day mysteries, we are just getting started. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join us on this exciting journey of discovery. And as always, keep your mind open and your curiosity alive. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown.